evening all, and welcome to the July 18th, 2019 regular village board meeting for the village of Chestnut Ridge. I thank you all for coming out. I thank you very much for all coming out this evening on this humid, yucky day, night, and again, I thank you. With regard to my mayor's report, I will try to keep it short. Again, we haven't been having the Sundays with the mayor for the summer months. We'll resume in October. As September will be, we're going to use the picnic as my Sunday. And speaking of the picnic, it will be September the 8th. We are in the midst of putting together our event, which again we hope to have a nice event, and nice weather, and it's something that folks that come out always enjoy, and we have a nice time. I'll open up the floor to the public on the agenda in 1 second, but I will make one comment about a matter that's on the agenda that that we're actually rescheduling, and that has to do with the burial of human remains. Rumor has gone like wildfire that the village was going to pass a law to permit burials in one's backyard. And if you want to talk about an untruth, if you want to talk about whipping up a frenzy over a non-issue, this is it. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, the law that we were going to address would prevent that from happening. Prevent, P-R-E-V-E-T. Prohibit, P-R-O-H-I-B-I-T. Not P-E-R-M-I-T. The law, current state of law in the state of New York, is very vague with regard to addressing such occurrences. Meaning, it's up to the individual villages to take care of it. Yes, Councilor?
Yeah, I mean, there are no state regulations regarding burial on private property. There are none. And
because there are none, we will make them, because we are permitted in the village to do that. So again, I will reiterate it again today. The law will prohibit, P-R-O-H-I-B-I-T, okay? Not permit, P-E-R-M-I-T. All right, so, and again, I said this a meeting ago, and I thought I was making it perfectly clear, but perhaps I wasn't, and I apologize. And I will apologize if for some reason people got confused. But there was never an intention to permit it, and I think unfortunately there were certain folks out there who were looking to stir the pot up on a non-issue. Fake news, it hurts all. Yes, Council?
And just briefly, the reason why it's not ready to move forward more quickly than it is because the more I dove into it, the more I realized that it's like most things can be more complicated than it seems on its face. There are provisions of the New York State Sanitary Code that I gotta deal with. There's provisions of the New York State penal law actually that come into play and are relevant. Rockland County has no regulation on it itself, as far as I can tell, in the county law. So I'm working on it, and it'll be done sooner rather than later. And I apologize to the board because I should have had it done now.
No issue, Counselor, and again, I think we all knew what we wanted to go with this. It was just that unfortunately the rumor mill took it and gave it a life of its own, and I'm a little disturbed that that folks were doing that. But be that as it may, I think I've made myself perfectly clear here this evening, so hopefully we put that to bed. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Walter, are there any other municipalities that prohibit this?
Not in Rockland that I can tell. I mean, it's very unusual. I think, as you go further upstate, I think that's probably the reason why the law is what the law is. And there's a lot more open space. It may not be as big an issue. But I can't see anything on the local level, so we'll put something in. And there's actually a New York State Board of Cemeteries, who's a pretty powerful organization. It'll be interesting to see what, if any, comment they have on it.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate you council taking the time to do the proper research to make sure we get this right. And your due diligence is really going to,
Grant, I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
I said to the council that I appreciate him taking the time to do the research to make sure we get this law right. Because we need to make sure that we do the right thing for the Chestnut Ridge. I appreciate the time you're taking and the time that needs to be here.
And of course, after we propose it, the public can comment on it.
And as we always have done in the past, the procedures, the proper procedures will be followed. We're not looking to take any express route in passing a law. I've also been in a backhanded way. The village has been accused of trying to circumvent the GML, the General Municipal Law. I was offended by that also, in that it was apparently a fait accompli where the village was going with this. And as far as the GML is concerned, we've never flouted that law. We don't have intentions of beginning to flout that law. And be that as it may, if and when the time comes to send the proposed law to the agencies we need to send it to, we will do just that. It wasn't ripe to do it at this juncture because we didn't even have a hearing yet. So again, we got to stop with the rumors and the innuendo. It's bad all around. I understand folks have a distrust for government, and I respect that. I respect that. But we are all in this together, and I think you have to kind of take a breath before you start believing everything that you hear. But anyway, be that as it may, we'll move on to the public discussion of agenda items only. Mr. Lieberson, name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes, and there will be no second go-around.
Jerry Liebelson, 31 Midway Road. I understood, I thought I heard you clearly at the last meeting what the law was about. I have two questions about it, the burial law. The initial text, there was some text of law that was posted on the website, and it indicated, obviously you're going to rethink all this, but it indicated some role for, that there could be a planning board process, you know, if you're not, say, a cemetery. And this may be a question for the attorney, do you see that, are you re-looking at that? Do you think there might still be a role for a planning board process when you're not a cemetery?
I think there may be a role if you're not a cemetery, because no matter what you put in your code, you can seek a variance from it. So if someone were to obtain a variance, and you would want to, I think it would be a good idea to have the planning board involved to make sure that if there is access to water, and that entails in New York State Sanitary Code, someone has a well or there's some water source, it would be good for the planning board at least to have a poke at it and make sure that it's not something that can be compromised. So have to see how it's going to all hash out. But you know, in the event that someone goes forward with this plan or a plan, it would be nice to have a planning board review.
And the other question was, at the June meeting, when you introduced the motivation for the law, you mentioned that there was some event that occurred that I guess precipitated made you realize that we didn't have any legal framework here to deal with this. Can you share with the public any details about what that event was?
I mentioned it.
You mentioned the event, but
yeah.
you didn't say what it was.
There was the founding imam of the mosque in Chestnut Ridge had passed away, and they asked to bury him on the property of the mosque. And they said, you don't have a law preventing it. And he said, well, we would prefer respectfully that you don't. Please bury him in a cemetery. And they say, well, thank you very much. We respectfully decline. And then they buried him in the back.
So they did bury him?
Yes, they did.
And that was how long ago?
I'm saying about a year. It happened in the actual ceremony probably happened in the winter, in the dead of winter.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, anyone else on the agenda items only? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion on the agenda.
So,
Thank you.
second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine for the motion. Thank you, Trustee Cohen for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none, again, I thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our meeting on June the 20th, 2019.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen, and thank you, Trustee Van Alstine, for the second. And record that trustee Miller will be abstaining as he was not in attendance. All those remaining, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none, thank you very much. Entertain resolution 2019-61 to adjourn the scheduling of the village zoning code regulating the burial of human remains for a new date to be announced and for further review. Thank you, trustee Miller, for the motion, and thank you, deputy mayor Valentine, for this second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none, thank you very much. Entertain, okay, we will open the public hearing, amending the law for the regulating of filming in the village of Chestnut Ridge. Is there anyone wish to speak with regard to that? Are you standing to speak on the law? Okay. Name and address for the record. This is on filming in the village of Chestnut Ridge.
I want to speak about something, but...
This is only on the filming.
Oh, okay.
If you're welcome to speak at the end of the meeting for if there's another matter.
Okay.
This is only
I
on
will.
the filming.
Thank you.
No problem. I know it sounded, I was jumping ahead on the whole hearing thing, so. Yes, name and address for the record on the filming within the village of Chestnut Ridge.
Joanne Mallory, 7 Imperial Lane.
Good evening, Ms. Mallory.
I saw sort of an exception in here for educational films, and I was just wondering, because I've known a couple students in my time in the village who are theater students or film students and have filmed for their class projects, and I'm just curious as to how this would affect them and whether they would have to apply for a permit and have all this insurance in place. It seems to me they're students and probably poor and not going to be able to afford any of these kinds of fees and insurance things that you're asking for.
Well, it's a good question. I'm of the presumption that if it's a student-run type of filming, that's not a production along the lines of what we, major movie productions and things of that nature. So that would be more akin to that's, I wouldn't consider that to be within the confines of this law. That's an educational pursuit. That's not a money-making function. It's not something along the lines of a major motion production. So that's a good question. They would be outside of those parameters. Well,
Is it possible to write something into here to make that more
excuse me?
specific? Can you write something into the,
Yeah, we could probably add we could probably tinker with the verbiage a little bit. We'll have the village attorney come up with something that would be able to address that.
thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else wish to speak with regard to the filming? There being none, I will close the public, should we just adjourn it and then until we see the revision?
It's up to you if you want to adopt it and then add it.
All right, we could wait another, we could just adjourn the public hearing until we've got the final verbiage in there. This way folks can see exactly what we did.
August 8th.
Okay, 1 second. The August meeting would be the the 15th. August 15th.
Motion will be to adjourn the public
So we're
hearing
gonna-
to August 15th.
Correct.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn
Hold it a
this
minute.
public hearing
Second.
until
Okay,
the August
discussion.
15th meeting.
Okay, thank you for the motion. Wait here a second. All right, discussion on the motion.
I would,
Yeah.
I think, I understand a lot of what
Just speak a little bit about it for the record.
Because I barely have enough time to like put my head above water and take care of all the stuff that I'm
Thank you. All right, thank you. All right.
She's incredible.
It's a motion to adjourn to the August 15th meeting. Trustee Cohen moved the motion and trustee Van Alstyne seconded. Okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none? Thank you very much. Okay. Next, I'll entertain resolution 2019-63, ratifying the renewal of the village's insurance coverage for travelers at a cost of $80,499.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move resolution number 2019-63.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Daniels. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none? Thank you very much. Entertain resolution 2019-64, authorizing me as mayor to execute New York Class Municipal Cooperation Agreement amended and restated as of March 28, 2019. That's so the village could invest funds in generate a little bit more revenue in a legal, low-risk manner. That having been said, do I hear a motion?
I'll make that
Thank
motion.
you, trustee Cohen, do I hear a second? Thank you, trustee Van Alstine for the second. All those in favor? Aye, opposed, there being none, thank you very much. All right, at this juncture, we are ready for resolution 2019, I guess 65, approving the abstract of audited plans, which has been updated and provided to you and to all here in the room.
I'll resolve that funds set forth on pages 1 through 3 on the abstract dated July 18, 2019, in the aggregate amount of $161,685.22, as submitted by the village treasurer, are hereby.
Okay, thank you, trustee Cohen, for the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee Van Alstine, for the second. All those in favor? Aye, opposed, there being none. Again, I thank you very much. Okay, folks, at this juncture, we will open up the meeting to the public for any and all questions or comments. And again, you know our routine, name and address for the record. Kindly keep your comments to 5 minutes. Anyone wish to speak? Mr. Federer, now.
Borough Federer, 33 Beckett Court, Chestnut Ridge. And I just asked the folks in the crowd here who came out because of that cemetery law that was supposed to be on the agenda, and that after the meeting they should all go to their Facebook accounts and make it clear for the record where it all started, because we are, as religious Jews, don't bury in backyards person that deceased. I actually, not only religious, even not religious, many times my friend, Chabad Rabbi Ehrenreich, used to be for years in Chestnut Ridge, calls me over from Minyan to the cemetery on Saddle River Road. Not only religious, even non-religious Jews get buried there. We say a Kaddish. I remember a few years ago, Mr. Cohn's father passed away. We went over to his house. We made a minyan. He said a Kaddish. And that's not a custom by us to put in the backyard the deceased body. So everybody who had the big hoo-ha the last few weeks should set the record straight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question for you. The example that gave rise to this law had to do with a major figure in the religion dying, and it was his congregation, so to speak, not using the right words, but that worshipped in this one place. If there is a major synagogue somewhere,
Okay, I'll explain to you.
and a
And
rabbi for 50 years died,
okay,
Still
you have
very-
a very good question. I'll give you the answer. It could happen, but not close to a synagogue or a house. If you see here, there is few big cemeteries here in Rockland County and also in Orange County. One was 40 years ago, this year, 1979, which was in Orange County in Monroe. The big Rabbi Joel Teitelbaum passed away. He got put in a brand new cemetery, not close to where people live, or where the synagogue is. Same here, and you look at Route 306, where there's a big cemetery right by Wesley Hills. This is the cemetery area for hundreds of years. Over there, there's a lot of veterans in the cemeteries there. So it could happen if there's, like, let's say, a big 20-acre lot, which I don't think anyone in Chestnut Ridge is a 20-acre lot would make it in a cemetery where you can get 20 acres in Monticello and make a cemetery on Liberty. You can have here much more to do with 20 acres in Chestnut Ridge than a cemetery. So it's all about just making a big.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, name and address for the record, please. Actually, Mr. Rich, the gentleman behind you.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
Mr. Valentine. Mr. Valentine?
He had a higher
Mr.
hand.
Ballinger.
Good evening. My name is William Ballinger.
Good evening, sir.
I live at 3 Pamela Drive. Oh, did you hear me? 3 Pamela Drive. I have a comment regarding the grass along DeSalvo Court from Red Schoolhouse Road to Midway on the Garden State Parkway side. It hasn't been cut, and it is obscuring the traffic sign, which has a speed limit on it. I'd like to see it cut, and I think the other reason it should be cut is I believe insects would grow in tall grass such as that. And I would like to minimize insects such as maybe mosquitoes, ticks, which could grow in there, probably would more likely be on the deer, but if the grass is cut, most likely the deer may not want to go there.
Thank you. What we'll do is, a lot of times, the town of Ramapo, through our maintenance agreement that we have with them, will sometimes come out to do that. But with this particular roadway, I'm not quite sure if we would need to contact the state, but we'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Cunningham, thank you for yielding to Mr. Ballinger.
Rich Cunningham, Appledale Lane. Last meeting, I inquired about the private E-Roo wire over at Appledale and Wallace area. Any follow-up on that? Is a person allowed to put a private wire across a public highway?
There is a process that is in place to address eruv. We are not permitted to prohibit the placement of an eruv. However, there is a process that will address the dimensions, exact placement, and where it is to be so that it doesn't affect negatively the surrounding areas and things of that nature. So the process has begun. They're working on it through zoning enforcement and through the village attorney.
Okay. Speeding, Appledale Lane. I've been in contact for about a month with the town of Ramapo Police Department. We have run radar. We have run unmarked cars. Their recommendation is that the speed limit be reduced. And they're saying that that's your responsibility. They will be glad to give, I'll get a copy of the report, that they say you can request them to reduce the speed limit from 30 to 25 maybe, because it has become a speedway. Really, it is, I can't describe it in terms that would be good to put on this, in this meeting. But every morning, I could make a fortune if I was a cop. But anyway, please follow up on that. I'd appreciate it if you would.
Yeah, we'll have the village attorney actually look into that. My understanding, I don't know who you spoke to at Ramapo PD, but my understanding is that we don't have that kind of flexibility. We have maybe for certain like school zones and certain areas for limited times, but for us to go and to, as a village, to reduce a speed limit that I believe the state says can't be any lower than 30, but we will look into it. Thank you.
It's Sergeant Youngman. He just was recently promoted to this position. As I said, I can get a copy of his report. It's all documented when he was there and what he has told me and what he's willing to tell you.
I don't disbelieve you.
No, I understand. I'm just telling you because I always, he said, well, it's their job and it's this job. This is what they're telling me to tell you. All right, my last thing is, when a house of worship is taken off the tax rolls, who pays for garbage collection?
It's still part of the village.
So
It's still
the
residential.
taxpayers are subsidizing garbage collection for a house of worship that is not on the tax rolls?
Correct.
Okay.
And Mr. Cunningham, I will remind you also that we have possibly a dozen, if maybe 2 dozen, tax exempt properties that are religious based due to the religious foundation that they are tax exempt. In addition, we have numerous homes that are owned by charitable organizations, such as the Salvation Army. At one time, the school, Edwin Gould, had staff threefold, in addition to Green Meadow. Even though they do not pay property taxes, their garbage is also being picked up. So we pick up everybody's garbage.
Okay, I was just
Religion
really curious,
or affiliation notwithstanding.
because I see in some of these places, 2 and 3 garbage on the morning of pickup or the night before. I'm just kind of interested.
And I have neighbors who are not a part of the religious community, of the Orthodox religious community, that have a lot of garbage also, but I understand your point. Thank you, Mr. Conley.
And the last question.
Sure.
Right. Corner of Appledale and Badger, there's a manhole that I have brought up for 7 months. The child goes down that hole, it's gonna be hell to pay. The town comes out, they put a cone on it.
Have you spoken to the village clerk about that?
Many, many times.
All right, well, this is
Many
officially
times.
on the record, and we're gonna, and
Yeah.
the
I-
village
we've
clerk will
called-
be following up.
I
Yeah.
Oh, you guys sent it?
Yeah, we've called, this is,
Okay.
Mr. Cunningham was kind enough to provide me with photographs
Yeah.
of it's a catch basin, right?
it's a catch basin. The whole back of the catch basin
And
is
there's a
worn out.
giant hole there with a cone standing next to it.
I'm more concerned are the children that play on this street.
And it's appreciated.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Walter, in regard to Mr. Cunningham's first comment on speeding, I've noticed personally, a heavier police presence in Chestnut Ridge, and cars being pulled over and papers being exchanged. I'll put it that way. I don't know exactly what the transactions are, but having seen the police presence and where they're waiting, you know, in side streets and on various driveways. Can you tell us about how many local roads or tickets have been written within the village?
I can't give you an exact number, but I do traffic cases on the second and third Wednesday. And last Wednesday, there was 103 cases on. Now, you have a throughway that goes through the village, and that's a lot. But it has been remarkable and noticeable to me